The warning lights filled the bridge with red color. Ambassador Valora stood near the main window and watched the enemy ships coming closer. Her silver skin reflected the emergency lights as she tried to stay calm. Outside, the Krell Empire's war fleet moved toward them like hungry animals. Valora belonged to the Xanathu people. They had lived in peace for 3,000 years. Her people never built big weapons or trained soldiers for war. They believed in talking and making friends with others. But the Krell did not want to talk. They wanted to take the Xanathu home planet and make the people their slaves. The communications officer named Kieran walked up to her. His face looked scared and tired. He had not slept for 2 days. Captain Valora, we tried everything. We asked the Galactic Council for help many times. They will not answer our calls anymore. The other species are too afraid of the Krell. Nobody wants to help us. Valora felt her heart sink. She had been a captain for 20 years. She had visited many worlds and met many different kinds of aliens. But she had never faced a situation like this before. Her people were going to die and she could not stop it. She walked to her command chair and sat down. Her hand shook a little as she opened the secret database on her personal screen. This database contained information that most captains never looked at. It had emergency plans for the worst situations possible, things that should never happen but sometimes did. Valora searched through the files. Most of them were no help. Then she found one file that made her stop. The file was marked with red warnings all around it. The title said Species 7 Alpha. Below that, it said another name that made her feel cold inside. Humans. She opened the file and started reading. The information made her more nervous with each line. Homeworld named Earth. Planet type is Class 12 Deathworld. That classification meant the planet was extremely dangerous. Most species could not survive there for even 1 day. The gravity was too strong. The weather was too violent. The animals were too deadly. But humans had evolved there. They had survived and become the top species on that nightmare world. The file continued with more disturbing facts. Military strength is unknown but believed to be very high. Psychological profile shows aggressive behavior, strong territorial instincts, and extreme loyalty to allies. Warning to all species. Contact humans only in extinction-level emergencies. Valora read the next part more slowly. It said that humans responded to distress calls in ways that other species found shocking. Once they decided to help someone, they would not stop until the job was done. They did not think about the cost or the danger. They just fought until they won or died trying. The file had reports from other species who had met humans. One report said humans had destroyed an entire pirate fleet to save just 5 alien children. Another report described how humans had fought for 3 months straight, without rest, to defend a small colony that was not even their own. The reports used words like relentless, fearless, and terrifying. Valora closed her eyes and thought hard. The Krell fleet would reach their planet in less than 6 hours. The Xanathu defense forces were already beaten. Their strongest shields were breaking. Their weapons barely scratched the Krell ships. Millions of innocent people would die when the invasion started. She looked at Kern. The young officer was watching her with hope in his eyes. He trusted her to find a solution. All her crew trusted her. All her people trusted her. She could not let them down, even if the solution was dangerous. Send a message to human space, she said quietly. Kern stepped closer because he was not sure he heard correctly. Captain, did you say human space? Yes, Valora answered. Use all communication frequencies. Make the signal as strong as possible. Send it as far as you can reach. Tell them we are under attack. Tell them we need help immediately. Tell them our people are dying. Kern looked at the screen where the file about humans was still open. He read some of the warnings. Captain, this file says humans are very dangerous. It says we should only contact them if we have no other choice. Are you sure about this? Valora stood up and walked to the window again. Another Xanathu defense station exploded in the distance. The bright flash lit up the dark space for a moment, then faded away. That station had 300 people working on it. Now they were all gone. We have no other choice, she said firmly. Send the message now. That is an order. Kern nodded and went to his station. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. Within minutes, the distress signal was ready. It contained their location, the number of enemy ships, and a desperate request for any help that could be given. The message was sent out into space on every frequency the ship could broadcast. It traveled faster than light through subspace channels. It crossed the empty darkness between stars. carrying the Xanathu's last hope with it. Valora sat back down in her command chair. She felt very tired suddenly. Now all they could do was wait and hope. Hope that the humans would receive the message. Hope that they would understand how urgent it was. Hope that they would care enough to come. But most of all, she hoped that calling the humans would not turn out to be an even bigger mistake than doing nothing. The warnings in that file had been very clear. Humans were not like other species. They did not think the same way. They did not follow the normal rules that civilized societies used. "Captain, how long until the Krell start their final attack?" Valora asked. 5 hours and 40 minutes, Kern replied. His voice was quiet and sad. Valora nodded slowly. She had just gambled the fate of her entire species on the hope that these mysterious Deathworlders would arrive in time. And if they did come, she had no idea what would happen next. Would they help? Would they make things worse? Would they even care about a species they had barely met before? The red emergency lights continued to flash. The Krell ships continued to advance, and somewhere far away in the darkness of space, the message traveled on, searching for the humans who lived on the dangerous world called Earth. Admiral Jake Morrison was drinking coffee in his command chair when Lieutenant Sophie Grant ran onto the bridge. She moved so fast that she almost tripped over her own feet. Her face was red from running and she was breathing hard. "Admiral, we have a distress call. It is very urgent." Sophie held out a datapad toward him. The signal came from the Xanathu sovereignty. "They say the Krill Empire is attacking them. They are asking for immediate help." Morrison put down his coffee cup and took the datapad. He read the message carefully. His expression became serious as he understood what was happening. The Xanathu were good people. They had been the first alien species to treat humans with real kindness and respect. When Earth had first traveled to the stars, most aliens were afraid of humans. They called Earth a death world and said humans were too dangerous to trust. But the Xanathu had been different. They had welcomed human diplomats with open arms. They had shared their technology and their friendship without asking for anything in return. Morrison remembered meeting Ambassador Valora 5 years ago. She had come to Earth and visited many cities. She had said that humans and Xanathu should be friends because both species valued honor and loyalty. Morrison had liked her immediately. She was smart and kind, and she genuinely cared about making the galaxy a better place. "How much time do they have?" Morrison asked Sophie. "According to our calculations, the Krell will begin their invasion in about 6 hours. Maybe less. The Xanathu defense forces are already losing badly." Morrison stood up from his chair. His jaw was tight and his eyes were hard. He pressed a button on his command console that would connect him to every human ship in the area. "This is Admiral Morrison to all Earth Defense Force vessels. We have a situation. Prepare for immediate departure. All ships are to gather at my location within 30 minutes. "This is not a drill." Sophie looked worried. "Sir, should we contact the Galactic Council first? They have rules about military actions in neutral space. If we go to help the Xanathu without permission, the Council might consider it an act of war." Morrison turned to face her. His expression was cold and angry. "The Galactic Council has had 6 hours to help the Xanathu. They chose to do nothing. They are sitting in their comfortable offices while good people die. I do not need permission from cowards to help my friends." "But sir," Sophie started to say. "No buts, Lieutenant." Morrison's voice was firm but not unkind. "Send a message to the Xanathu. Tell them help is on the way. Tell them to hold on for just a little longer, and then get this ship ready to move. We leave in 30 minutes. Sophie saluted and went to work. Within minutes, the entire human fleet in that sector of space knew what was happening. Ship captains started preparing their crews. Engineers checked weapons systems. Pilots ran through pre-flight checks. Everyone moved with purpose and speed. The human fleet was not the biggest in the galaxy. It was not the most advanced, but it had something that many other fleets did not have. It had experience fighting in impossible situations. Every human had grown up on Earth where nature tried to kill you every single day. That experience made them tough and determined. Commander Brandon Cole was the captain of a destroyer called the Relentless. He was in his quarters when he got the message. He quickly put on his uniform and ran to the bridge. His second officer, Lieutenant Nina Brooks, was already there waiting for him. "Commander, we have our orders. We are going to help the Xanathu fight the Krell." Nina handed him a datapad with tactical information. "Sir, the numbers do not look good. Intelligence says the Krell have more than 200 warships. Our fleet only has 60 ships. Brandon looked at the numbers on the screen. Most commanders would have been worried by those odds. 3 enemy ships for every one of theirs. But Brandon just smiled. He had fought in worse situations before. Then they should have brought more ships. Set our course for Xanathu's space. Maximum speed. And tell the crew to get ready for a fight. Nina nodded. She trusted her commander completely. He had never let them down before, yes sir. Should I tell the crew what to expect? Tell them we are going to show the Krell why nobody messes with our friends. Tell them we are going to remind the galaxy what humans can do when they get angry. And tell them I am proud to serve with them. The message went out to the crew of the Relentless. Similar messages were being sent on every human ship. The mood was serious but not afraid. Human soldiers knew they might die today, but they also knew they were fighting for something important. They were fighting for friends who needed them. On the bridge of his flagship, the Valkyrie, Admiral Morrison watched as his fleet formed up. 60 warships, each one scarred from previous battles, each one ready to fight again. These ships were not pretty. They were built for war, not for looks. Every weapon system was designed to kill efficiently. Every armor plate was tested in real combat. Sophie approached him with a final report. Sir, all ships are ready. We can leave whenever you give the order. She paused for a moment. Sir, can I ask you something? Go ahead, Lieutenant. Why are we doing this? I understand the Xanathu are our friends, but we are risking a lot. Some of our people might not come home. Is it worth it? Morrison looked at her seriously. When humans first went to space, we were alone and scared. Most species treated us like dangerous animals, but the Xanathu saw past our reputation. They gave us a chance. They showed us kindness when nobody else would. Now they need us and we have a choice. We can be like the Galactic Council and do nothing. Or we can be the friends they believed we could be. Sophie nodded slowly. She understood now. Sometimes doing the right thing was more important than doing the safe thing. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. Today we go to help people who need us. We are outnumbered. The odds are against us. Some people would say we should stay home where it is safe. But we are not those people. We are humans. We do not abandon our friends. We do not run from fights just because they are hard. Today we show the galaxy what humanity really means. All ships jump to hyperspace on my mark. The human fleet activated their hyperspace engines. Space itself seemed to bend and twist as they prepared to jump. In moments they would cross vast distances to reach the Xanathu homeworld. Mark. The ships vanished, leaving only ripples in space where they had been. They were racing against time, rushing to save a civilization that had shown them kindness, and nothing in the universe would stop them from getting there. 4 hours had passed since Valora sent the distress call. She stood on the bridge and watched another defense station explode. The bright flash hurt her eyes, but she could not look away. 300 more people were dead. 300 more families would never see their loved ones again. The Krell were taking their time now. They knew they had already won. They were destroying every Xanathu position slowly, making sure nothing could fight back. It was cruel and unnecessary, but that was how the Krell operated. They wanted everyone to know what happened when you stood against their empire. Captain, we have less than 2 hours left. Kieran's voice was empty of hope. The final Krell assault wave is forming up. Once they start, it will take them only minutes to reach the planet's surface. Valora nodded but said nothing. What could she say? She had sent the message to human space, but no reply had come. Maybe the humans never received it. Maybe they received it and decided not to help. Maybe they were too far away to arrive in time. Whatever the reason, the result was the same. Her people were going to die. She thought about her family down on the planet. Her daughter was only 8 years old. She loved to paint pictures of the stars. Valora had promised to take her to visit other worlds when she got older. Now that would never happen. The Krell would invade, and her daughter would either die or become a slave. Both options were terrible to think about. Captain, Kern suddenly shouted. His voice was loud and filled with shock. Something is happening. Our sensors are detecting massive energy readings. Multiple hyperspace windows are opening. Valora spun around to face him. The Krell reinforcements? Are more enemy ships arriving? No, Captain. The signatures are wrong. These are not Krell ships. Kern's fingers moved quickly across his controls. His eyes got wider as he read the data. Captain, I am reading 60 new ships. They are coming from the direction of human space. The main window filled with light. Space itself seemed to tear open like fabric being ripped apart. One after another, human warships appeared. They came out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their weapons already charging, their shields already active. Valora had seen pictures of human ships before, but seeing them in person was completely different. These were not elegant vessels designed to look beautiful. These were weapons built for one purpose only: to fight and to win. Every surface was covered with armor. Every angle was designed to deflect enemy fire. Every weapon port showed signs of heavy use. At the center of the formation was the largest ship Valora had ever seen. The computer identified it as the Valkyrie, the flagship of the human fleet. It was massive and intimidating. Just looking at it made Valora feel small and helpless, but it also made her feel something else: hope. "We are receiving a transmission from the lead ship," Kern said. His voice was shaking, though Valora could not tell if it was from fear or excitement. "Should I put it on the main screen?" "Yes, do it now." The screen changed to show a human male wearing a military uniform. He had short gray hair and hard eyes that had seen many battles. But when he spoke, his voice was calm and steady. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We received your distress call, Ambassador Valora. Sorry it took us a while to get here. Please remain where you are while we deal with this situation." Valora tried to speak, but no words came out. She was too shocked and relieved to form sentences. The humans had come. They had actually come. On the other side of the battlefield, the Krell fleet suddenly stopped advancing. Their commander, General Throck, stared at the human ships on his screen. He had heard stories about humans, whispered tales told in dark corners of space stations, stories about the species that lived on a death world and refused to die no matter how hard you hit them. But stories were just stories. Throck commanded 200 warships. The humans only had 60. Simple mathematics said the Krell would win easily. Still, something about those human ships made him nervous. They looked dangerous in a way that other ships did not. The humans sent a message on all frequencies. Every ship in the area could hear it. "Attention, Krell forces. This is your only warning. Withdraw from Zenithu space immediately, or face the consequences. You have 60 seconds to begin your retreat." Throck felt anger replace his nervousness. How dare these humans threaten him? He was a general of the Krell Empire. He had conquered 14 worlds. He would not be frightened by Deathworlders who did not know their place in the galaxy. He opened a channel to the human flagship. "Listen carefully, humans. You are outnumbered more than 3 to 1. You have no chance of victory. Leave now while you still can, and we will forget this foolish interruption." The human admiral's response came back immediately. His voice was cold and hard like metal. "We did not come here to negotiate. We came here to fight. And just so you know, we humans have a saying. We do not care about the odds. We only care about doing what is right." Throck felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in that human's voice that was truly frightening. It was not anger or fear. It was certainty. Complete and total certainty that the humans would win no matter what it cost them. "Your 60 seconds are up," the human admiral said. And then the human fleet attacked. Valora watched in amazement as the human ships moved forward. They did not hesitate or show any fear. They simply accelerated toward the Krell fleet, like they had done this 1,000 times before. Their formation was perfect. Every ship knew exactly where to go and what to do. The space between the two fleets filled with weapons fire. Green Krell plasma bolts shot toward the human ships, but the humans were ready. Their point defense systems tracked and destroyed most of the incoming fire. The few shots that got through hit armor that was designed to take punishment. Then the human ships returned fire, and Valora understood why the warnings in that database file had been so serious. Human weapons were different from what other species used. They were brutal and efficient. Kinetic rounds traveling at incredible speeds tore through Krell shields like they were not even there. Missiles with advanced tracking systems found weak points in enemy armor and exploited them ruthlessly. "Captain," Kern said quietly, "they fight like machines." But angry machines, Valora nodded. She could not take her eyes off the battle. The humans moved through the Krell formation like predators hunting prey. They worked together perfectly. When one ship was in trouble, 2 others would move to protect it. When they found a weak enemy ship, 3 or 4 human vessels would focus their fire and destroy it quickly. This was not how civilized species fought wars. This was raw and violent and terrifying. The humans fought like every battle was personal, like every Krell ship had somehow insulted their honor. They showed no mercy and gave no quarter. and slowly, impossibly, the Krell fleet began to fall back. Ships that had been confident and aggressive minutes ago were now trying to escape. But the humans would not let them go easily. They pursued and continued attacking, making sure the Krell understood that coming to Xanathu space had been a terrible mistake. Valora felt tears running down her face. Her people were going to survive. The humans had saved them, but as she watched the brutal efficiency of the human attack, she also understood something else. She understood why the galaxy feared these Deathworlders, and she understood that her people now owed these terrifying warriors a debt that could never be fully repaid. The battle had been going on for an hour now. Commander Brandon Cole stood on the bridge of the Relentless and watched his crew work. They moved with practiced efficiency, each person knowing their job perfectly. This was not their first fight, and it probably would not be their last. "Target the command ship," Brandon ordered. He pointed at a large Krell battleship on the tactical display. "If we take out their leaders, the rest will panic." Lieutenant Nina Brooks worked quickly at her station. "Sir, that ship has heavy shields. It will take multiple hits to bring it down. Then we will hit it multiple times," Brandon replied. "All weapons, focus fire on that battleship. And get me closer. I want to see the fear in their eyes." The Relentless accelerated toward its target. Krell ships tried to intercept, but the human destroyer was too fast and too agile. It dodged incoming fire with movements that looked almost impossible. The ship twisted and turned through space like it was dancing. Nina coordinated the weapons systems. She had been doing this job for 5 years and knew every trick. Firing kinetic rounds in 3-2-1 mark, the Relentless shook as its main guns fired. Solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds and slammed into the Krell battleship's shields. The first few rounds were absorbed by the energy barrier. But the humans kept firing, and shields could only take so much punishment. "Shields are down to 60%, Nina reported. 50%, 40%. They are trying to reinforce them." "Do not give them time," Brandon said. "Switch to missiles. Target their reactor." The Relentless launched a spread of missiles. These were not simple explosive weapons. Each missile had its own guidance system and could adjust its path to hit weak points in enemy armor. The Krell tried to shoot them down, but there were too many coming too fast. "Direct hit on their reactor core," Nina shouted. "They are losing power across all systems." Brandon watched as the Krell battleship started venting atmosphere. Fires could be seen through breaks in its hull. The ship was dying, and its crew knew it. "Good work, everyone. Now find us another target. We are not done yet." All across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships worked together to destroy Krell vessels one by one. They used tactics that the Krell had never seen before. Tactics that came from centuries of humans fighting each other on Earth before they went to space. Admiral Morrison watched the tactical display on the Valkyrie. His fleet was winning, but the cost was real. 3 human ships had been destroyed. 12 more were damaged. Good people had died today, and more would die before this was over. But they had known the risks when they signed up. They had known that being human meant standing up for what was right, no matter the cost. Lieutenant Sophie Grant approached with an update. "Sir, the Krell are starting to retreat. Their formation is breaking apart. Some ships are trying to escape. Do not let them regroup," Morrison ordered. "Pursue and destroy any ship that shows hostile intent, but if they surrender, take them prisoner according to the rules of war. We are not monsters like the Krell." Sophie nodded and sent the orders to the fleet. She had been worried before the battle started. The odds had seemed impossible, but now she understood what her admiral had meant. Humans did not care about odds. They cared about doing the right thing. And when humans decided to fight, they gave everything they had. On his command ship, General Throck could not believe what was happening. His fleet was falling apart. Ships that had been victorious minutes ago were now running for their lives, and those terrifying human ships just kept coming, relentless and unstoppable. He had made a terrible mistake. He should have listened to the stories. He should have known that species which evolved on Deathworlds were dangerous for a reason. They learned to fight by surviving in the most hostile environments imaginable. Compared to living on Earth, fighting in space was probably easy for them. "General, we must retreat," his second officer said. "We have lost over 50 ships. If we stay, they will destroy us all," Throck wanted to argue. He wanted to say they could still win. But he knew the truth. The battle was over and the Krell had lost. "Signal all ships to withdraw. Maximum speed. Get us out of here." The Krell fleet turned and ran. Some ships were too damaged to escape and were destroyed by pursuing human vessels. Others made it to safe jump distance and disappeared into hyperspace. Within 30 minutes of the first shot being fired, the battle was effectively over. On the Zenithu command cruiser, Valora stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The humans had won. Against odds that should have been impossible, they had actually won. And they had done it to save her people, a species they barely knew. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the human flagship," Kern said. "Admiral Morrison is asking to speak with you." "Put him through," Valora replied. Her voice was shaking with emotion. The Admiral's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but satisfied. "Ambassador Valora, the Krell fleet has been driven off. Your homeworld is safe. We are deploying repair teams to help fix your damaged stations. How are you holding up?" Valora felt tears running down her face again. She did not try to hide them. "Admiral Morrison, I do not know what to say. You saved my entire species. You came when nobody else would. You fought when the odds were against you. Why would you risk so much for us?" Morrison smiled gently. "Because you were our friends when we needed friends. Because you treated us with kindness when others treated us with fear. And because that is what humans do. We protect the people we care about. Always, but your ships, your people who died. This was not even your war," Valora protested. "The moment you called for help, it became our war," Morrison said firmly. "That is what friendship means to us. We do not calculate cost before helping friends. We just help. That is the human way." Valora looked at this human admiral with new understanding. The warnings in the database had been right. Humans were dangerous and aggressive and territorial. But those warnings had missed the most important thing. Humans were also the most loyal and brave friends anyone could ever have. "Thank you, Admiral Morrison. Thank you from all my people. We will never forget what you did for us today." Morrison nodded. "Just promise me one thing, Ambassador. Promise that you will always remember that humans keep their promises. If you ever need us again, just call. We will come. That is a guarantee." The transmission ended and Valora sat back in her command chair. Around her, the bridge crew was celebrating. They were laughing and crying and hugging each other. They had survived something that should have killed them all, and they had survived because the humans had come. Kern approached her with a smile on his face. "Captain, the planet is safe. The Krell are gone. We won." "No," Valora replied quietly. "We did not win. The humans won, and they won for us. That is something very different and very special." 3 days had passed since the battle. The human fleet was still in Zenithu space, helping to repair damaged stations and providing protection in case the Krell came back. But everyone knew the Krell would not return. The message had been sent clearly. Attacking the Zenithu meant fighting the humans, and nobody wanted to do that. Admiral Morrison stood in the observation deck of the Valkyrie, looking down at the Zenithu homeworld. It was a beautiful planet with blue oceans and green continents. From space, it looked peaceful and perfect. It was hard to believe that this world had almost fallen to invasion just a few days ago. Lieutenant Sophie Grant entered the room and approached him. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to speak with you immediately." She paused and looked uncomfortable. "Sir, they do not sound happy." Morrison smiled without humor. "I imagine they do not. Put them through to my office. I will deal with them in private." A few minutes later, Morrison sat at his desk and looked at the faces of 3 council members on his screen. They represented the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They made the laws and decided which species were allowed to do what, and right now they looked very angry. Admiral Morrison began the council chairman, a tall alien with purple skin. "You have committed a serious violation of galactic law. You launched a military operation without council approval. You attacked the Krell Empire, which is a recognized sovereign state. This is completely unacceptable." Morrison leaned back in his chair and crossed his arms. "With all due respect, Chairman. The Zenithu asked the council for help. You refused. They sent distress calls for hours and you ignored them. So we did what you would not do. We saved innocent lives. That is not your decision to make," another council member said. She had 6 eyes and spoke in a high voice. "The council exists to maintain order in the galaxy. We cannot have individual species acting on their own. It creates chaos." Morrison felt his anger rising. "So your solution to chaos is to let genocides happen? You call that maintaining order? Where I come from, we call that cowardice." The council members looked shocked. Nobody talked to them like this. The chairman's face turned darker purple. How dare you speak to us in such a manner? We are the legitimate authority in this galaxy. You will show respect. Respect is earned, not demanded, Morrison replied coldly. And you have not earned it. You sit in your comfortable council chambers while good people die. You make laws that protect the strong and abandon the weak. That is not leadership. That is failure. The third council member, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. He was an old alien who looked very tired. Admiral Morrison, we understand your feelings, but you must understand our position. The Krell Empire is powerful. If we had intervened, it could have started a war that spread across the galaxy. Millions could have died. Morrison leaned forward. And millions of Xanathu would have died if we did nothing. So you chose to sacrifice them to avoid a larger conflict. That is a calculation that humans refuse to make. We do not abandon friends to save ourselves. The chairman tried to regain control of the conversation. Regardless of your justifications, you violated galactic law. There must be consequences. We are formally censuring Earth and demanding that you pay reparations to the Krell Empire for their losses. Morrison actually laughed. You want us to pay the Krell? For defending ourselves and our allies? That will never happen, and if you try to force us, you will find out just how stubborn humans can be when pushed. This is your final warning, Admiral. Accept the Council's judgment or face sanctions. We can make things very difficult for Earth. Morrison stood up. Go ahead and try, but remember this. Today you learned that humans protect their friends. Tomorrow you might learn what happens when you threaten us. I suggest you think carefully before taking that next step. He ended the transmission before they could respond. Sophie, who had been listening from outside, entered the office. Sir, was that wise? The Council has a lot of power. The Council has power because everyone is afraid of them, Morrison replied. But humans are not afraid, and once others see that, maybe they will stop being afraid too. That is how bullies lose their power. Meanwhile, on the Xanathu homeworld, Ambassador Valora was preparing for an important ceremony. The Xanathu government had decided to hold a formal event to thank the humans for their help. Every major news network in the galaxy would be covering it. Kern helped her adjust her ceremonial robes. Captain, are you nervous? This will be broadcast to billions of people across hundreds of worlds. Valora smiled. I am not nervous. I am honored. Today we tell the galaxy what humanity really is. We correct the false stories and warnings. We show everyone the truth. The ceremony took place in the capital city's main plaza. Thousands of Xanathu gathered to watch. The human crew members who had come down to the surface were treated like heroes. Children gave them flowers. Adults shook their hands and thanked them repeatedly. Admiral Morrison stood next to Valora on the main platform. He felt uncomfortable with all the attention. He had just done what needed to be done. But he understood that this ceremony was important for the Xanathu people. They needed to express their gratitude. Valora stepped up to the speaking platform. Her voice was amplified so everyone could hear. 3 days ago, our world faced destruction. The Krell Empire attacked us without warning or mercy. We called for help, but nobody answered. We were alone and afraid. Then when all hope seemed lost, the humans came. She paused and looked at Morrison. Many species in this galaxy fear humans. They call them Deathworlders. They say humans are dangerous and unpredictable. And you know what? Those warnings are correct. Humans are dangerous, but they are dangerous to those who threaten the innocent. They are dangerous to bullies and tyrants. And that is exactly the kind of dangerous the galaxy needs. The crowd cheered loudly. Valora waited for them to quiet down before continuing. The human fleet was outnumbered 3-1. They had no obligation to help us. The Galactic Council had already refused our plea, but the humans came anyway. They risked their lives and their ships for people they barely knew. Because to humans, friendship is not just a word. It is a sacred promise. Morrison felt Sophie standing next to him. She whispered quietly, Sir, this is being broadcast everywhere. Every species in the galaxy is watching this. Good, Morrison replied. Let them all hear the truth. Valora continued her speech. Today, the Xanathu sovereignty announces a formal military alliance with Earth. From this day forward, an attack on either of our species will be considered an attack on both. We stand together as friends, as allies, and as family. She turned to Morrison and extended her hand in the human gesture of agreement. Admiral Morrison, on behalf of my people, thank you. Thank you for showing us what true friendship means. Thank you for reminding the galaxy that courage and honor still matter. And thank you for proving that sometimes the most dangerous species can also be the most noble. Morrison shook her hand firmly. Ambassador Valora, the honor is ours. Your people welcomed us when others feared us. You showed us kindness when we were strangers in a strange galaxy. We will never forget that, and we promise that Earth will always stand with the Xanathu. Always. The crowd erupted in cheers again, but this time the human crew members joined in. For a moment, two very different species celebrated together as true friends. Later that evening, Morrison received reports from Earth. The broadcast of the ceremony had caused a huge reaction across the galaxy. Several smaller species had sent messages to Earth, asking if they could also form alliances. They wanted human protection too. Sophie brought him the latest report. Sir, the Krell Empire has issued a statement. They are withdrawing from this entire sector of space. They say they have no interest in conflict with Earth or its allies. Morrison nodded. Good. Maybe this will teach them to think twice before attacking peaceful civilizations. What about the Galactic Council? They have gone very quiet, Sophie replied with a smile. I think they are trying to figure out what to do next. They cannot really punish us without looking weak, but they also cannot openly support us without admitting they were wrong. Let them struggle with that problem, Morrison said. We did what was right. That is all that matters to us. 2 weeks had passed since the Battle of Xanathu Prime. The name had spread quickly through the galaxy. Every species knew the story now. The humans had faced impossible odds and won. They had risked everything to save a friend. And the galaxy was still trying to understand what that meant. Commander Brandon Cole sat in the mess hall of the Relentless, eating lunch with his crew. They were finally heading back to Earth after helping the Xanathu repair their defenses. The work had been hard but satisfying. They had made real friends with the Xanathu people. Lieutenant Nina Brooks sat down across from him with her food tray. Commander, have you seen the latest news? 5 more species have requested formal talks with Earth about possible alliances. They all say they want human protection. Brandon took a bite of his food before answering. That is good. Maybe this will start something bigger. Maybe other species will finally realize that bullies only win when good people do nothing. Nina nodded thoughtfully. Sir, can I ask you something personal? When we first got the distress call, were you scared? I mean, we were facing terrible odds. We could have all died. Brandon smiled. Of course I was scared. Fear is natural. But my grandfather told me something when I was young. He said that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being afraid and doing the right thing anyway. The Xanathu needed help and we could provide it. The choice was simple, even if it was not easy. That is very wise, Nina said. My grandfather was a simple man, but he understood what mattered. Family, friends, honor, and doing what is right. Those are the things worth fighting for. Worth dying for if necessary. On the Xanathu homeworld, Valora stood in her new office. She had been promoted to chief ambassador after the crisis. Her job now was to strengthen the alliance with Earth and build relationships with other species who wanted to join them. Kern entered carrying a large data pad. Ambassador, we have received another request. The Talus Collective wants to meet with us. They are a small group of mining colonies that have been having trouble with pirates. They heard about what the humans did for us and they want to know if we would help them too. Valora took the data pad and read through the information. The Talus were good people. Peaceful miners who just wanted to live their lives without being attacked by criminals. Have you contacted Earth about this? Not yet. I wanted to ask you first. Do you think the humans would help species they do not even know? Valora thought about Admiral Morrison and his crew. She remembered their determination and their sense of honor. Yes, I believe they would. The humans do not help others because they expect something in return. They help because it is the right thing to do. Contact Earth and arrange a meeting. Let us see if we can make this galaxy a little safer for everyone. Far away, in a dark corner of the galaxy, the Krell Empire was holding an emergency council meeting. General Throck stood before the Emperor and other high-ranking officials. His uniform was clean and pressed, but his face showed his shame. You lost more than 60 ships to a fleet 1/3 your size, the Emperor said coldly. Explain how this happened. Throck kept his eyes forward. Your Majesty, the humans fight unlike any species we have encountered before. They show no fear. They accept no compromise. They simply fight until they win or die. And their weapons technology is more advanced than our intelligence reports suggested. The Emperor leaned back in his throne. So the stories about these Deathworlders are true. They are as dangerous as the rumors claim. More dangerous, another general added. Your Majesty, I recommend we avoid any conflict with Earth or its allies. The cost would be too high. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I agree. Issue a formal declaration. The Krell Empire will not engage in hostile actions against Earth or any of its allied species. We have learned our lesson. Back on Earth, Admiral Morrison was finally home. He stood in his apartment and looked out the window at the city below. It felt strange to be on solid ground again after weeks in space. But it felt good too. His personal communicator buzzed. It was a message from the Earth Defense Force headquarters. They wanted to promote him to Fleet Admiral and put him in charge of all human military operations. It was a huge honor and a huge responsibility. Morrison thought about it for a moment. Then he sent back his acceptance. Someone needed to lead the growing alliance. Someone needed to show the galaxy that doing the right thing was more important than playing it safe. He might as well be that person. Lieutenant Sophie Grant was also on Earth visiting her family. Her mother hugged her tightly when she arrived home. I saw the news reports about the battle. I was so worried about you. I am fine, Mom. We all made it back safely. Well, most of us. Sophie thought about the crew members who had died in the battle. They had given their lives to save strangers. That was the ultimate act of courage and kindness. Her mother pulled back and looked at her seriously. Are you going back out there? Back to space? Sophie nodded. Yes, Admiral Morrison is forming a new fleet. We are going to patrol the Allied territories and help protect species that cannot protect themselves. It is important work. Her mother smiled through tears. I am so proud of you. You are making the galaxy a better place. Just promise me you will be careful. I promise, Sophie said, hugging her mother again. 6 months later, the alliance between Earth and its partners had grown significantly. 12 species were now official members. They called themselves the Coalition for Mutual Defense. The name was simple but powerful. They stood together to protect each other. The Galactic Council had tried to interfere at first. They claimed the coalition was illegal and destabilizing. But nobody listened to them anymore. Too many species had seen the Council abandon the Xanathu when they needed help. The Council's authority was crumbling and everyone knew it. Valora stood in the Coalition headquarters, a new space station built jointly by all member species. She was looking at a memorial wall that listed the names of everyone who had died during the Battle of Xanathu Prime. Human names and Xanathu names were mixed together, showing that they had fought and died as one people. Admiral Morrison, now Fleet Admiral Morrison, joined her. It is a beautiful memorial. These people will never be forgotten, Valora nodded. They saved my world. They saved my people. The least we can do is remember their names and honor their sacrifice. Morrison put his hand on her shoulder in a gesture of friendship. Ambassador, I have been thinking about that database file, the one that warned against contacting humans. Do you still have it? Yes, why do you ask? I think it is time to update it. The warnings were not wrong, but they were incomplete. Someone should add the full truth about humans. Valora smiled. I already did that, Admiral. The new entry says that humans are aggressive and dangerous, but it also says they are loyal, brave, and honorable. And it ends with this message. If you need help, call the humans. They will come. That is a promise you can trust with your life. Morrison felt emotion welling up inside him. That is perfect. Thank you, Ambassador. No, Admiral. Thank you. Thank you for showing the galaxy what true friendship means. Thank you for proving that courage and honor still matter. And thank you for reminding us all that sometimes the most dangerous people can also be the most noble. They stood together in silence, looking at the names on the wall. Outside the station, Coalition patrol ships moved through space, protecting the alliance that had been born from one desperate distress call. The galaxy had changed forever that day when the Xanathu called for help and the humans answered. And somewhere in the darkness of space, other species were watching and learning. They were learning that bullies could be stopped, that good people could make a difference, and that sometimes all it took to change everything was for someone to have the courage to ask for help, and for others to have the courage to answer. The age of the Deathworlders had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again.